All right, tonight we're monitoring the curfew. It's 8 o'clock, so the curfew that will last until tomorrow morning kicks into gear. Our reporter Natasha Phiri has been monitoring the curfew under level 4 lockdown with the Johannesburg Metro Police. Natasha, thank you for being with us. So tell us what you've seen, or I guess not seen, as no one should be out and about unless absolutely essential right now.
Well, very good evening to you, Francis. Quite an interesting view, because there still are actually cars that are actually driving up and down on our roads. As you've correctly said, that it is now 8 o'clock and the curfew has actually begun. Remember, the Gauteng Minister, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, had actually announced last week that those curfew times would actually take effect from 5 a.m. To 8 p.m. But it's quite interestingly so, because we see cars just, driving up and down. We see cars coming up, and drivers coming up to fuel up their tanks. You're actually situated by a very interesting road here in Johannesburg. We're by New Road in Midrand. And of course, most of you would know that this road is quite synonymous with roadblocks. I mean, this is even before the times of the lockdown period. It's always a site where you'd always see police officers conducting roadblocks to ensure that motorists do adhere to the rules of the road. But now you're also observing, as the SABC team, if motorists are actually adhering to the lockdown regulations. Also, Francis, if I'll just remind you now of years, last week the Minister of Gauteng had actually announced that once off, a space, a period where people could actually travel from province to province. And of course, that actually started on the 1st of May and will then now end on the 7th of May, which is Thursday. But actually, to speak to us more about this, I'm joined by the department spokesperson, Department of Transport, Miss Ayanda Ali Payne, and she'll just, elaborate more on some of these regulations. Ayanda, thank you so much for joining us on the SABC. Now, we do know that people are allowed to travel from province to province once off, though, from the 1st to the 7th. Earlier on, we saw that tweet from Minister Mbalula saying that he's gazetted interprovincial travel. And of course, people are actually allowed to travel even after the lockdown regulation times.
Indeed, and a very good evening to you and to your viewers. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to clarify this. I think what's important to note is that once the lockdown level 4 regulations were then passed, it became clear that there would be people who would be stuck in different provinces and unable to travel and go back home, because they were under the impression that it was just going to be 21 days and then things would get back to normal. It's now clear that that is not the case, and they need to return to work. And so we've heard the cries of South Africans who said, I am stuck in Limpopo, I need to come and work in Johannesburg. Perhaps I'm in KZN, I need to work in Limpopo. Whatever the case may be, those who have private vehicles would be able to do so freely. But those who don't have private vehicles then needed to utilize public transport. And that's where the issue came in. The bus operators said it's impossible for us to travel from Eastern Cape to Gauteng within the curfew hours, which is 5 a.m. until 8 p.m. They found themselves stuck on the road at around 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, and law enforcement officials, rightfully so, pulled them over and said, you cannot travel. And this has caused unnecessary trauma on them. They were inconvenienced greatly as a result. And so when they called and said, Minister Mbalula, you need to do something about this, he then spoke to his colleagues in SABC, his colleagues in Gauteng, to say, can we just make an extension just for those who will be traveling interprovincially so that they can be on the road outside of the 8 p.m. curfew.
Okay. So, I mean, the 7th of May, is that the deadline?
Indeed. And I am receiving calls from people who are saying, I'm only starting work in June. Will I be able to travel interprovincially? We want to make it clear that this window period is for all of those who are outside of the provinces where they work. Come back to the province of work right now within this grace period, because there's no telling what will happen next week. As you have seen, when the lockdown started, we all thought 21 days, and here we are now. So you don't want to take advantage of this and say, I'll go and travel interprovincially later. Equally, some people have thought, this is an opportunity for me to go and see my gran or to go and visit my cousin. It's a one-way ticket, my friend. If you leave this province, there is no telling whether or not you'll be able to come back. So rather be safe than sorry. Do not use this as an opportunity to travel helter-skelter and go everywhere you want to go. It's only for those who need to return to the provinces where they work.
With that being said, Ayanda, how do you ensure that people actually abide to these regulations?
Look, by and large, I think South Africans are law-abiding citizens. We have seen a lot of people giving us calls, wanting to comply, wanting to know, can I come back with my family, or must I be the only one in the car? How many of us should be in the vehicle, etc. So that tells us that many South Africans want to comply. There will always be those who wish to break the rules. I think that is a given. And so there is never any guarantee. But what I can tell you is that the long arm of the law will find you. If you insist on traveling and hiding your girlfriend in the boot, you will be caught. If you insist on transporting alcohol, you will be caught. If you insist on traveling outside the curfew for no other reason than you just want to go for a joyride, you will be caught.
Well, thank you so much, Ayanda. And of course, we will catch up with you later on. As you've heard it, Francis, Ayanda, they're sending out a strong message that those who don't abide by the lockdown regulations will be caught and will face the full might of the law. With that said, it's back to you in studio.